Welcome to another episode of the Black Male Impact. Today we have as guest Dr. Aidin Brown. Dr. Aidin Brown is the executive chairman and and that of is of Monhars. Did I say that correctly?
Monhars.
Monhars Enterprise.
Yes.
So, and he's also an author, leadership coach, and a consultant. And just to give you a backstory of Dr. Brown, I know this is not our first time having this conversation. The first time we had the conversation, he was Mr. Brown. So this is perfect for to kick off the series, Defied Conventional Expectations. Because in life, sometimes people will put limits on us, but it's not what people say about us that matters most. It's what we say about ourselves. So I just want to welcome Dr. Brown back to the Black Male Impact series to talk about define conventional expectations. But before we get into the conversation, sorry for those who are here for the first time. I didn't even mention my name. My name is Dr. Richard A. Cross, and I'm the founder of the Black Male Impact. But before we get into the conversation today, I will allow Dr. Brown to share more about himself so you can get a bit more understanding of who he is before we start the conversation. Dr. Brown,
Well, thank you, Dr. Cross. Thank you for having me, and I'm honored to come back a second time.
it's a pleasure.
Good morning to our viewers, our audience, and those who will be watching in and tuning into this segment. As Dr. Cross mentioned before, my name is Dr. Aiden Brown, and it's interesting. Before our first connection was when I was studying for my doctoral program, but now I have attained my doctorate. Well, that's in a while now, but now I'm honored to be back serving in this capacity. As he mentioned, some of the many hats that I wear, and I would say jack of all trade, because one of the things with being a strategic leadership graduate, you learn to do several things.
Okay,
And earlier we were having a conversation where it comes on to technology. So we have to learn a lot of things,
that's right.
especially when it comes on to technology. So yes, I am the executive chairman of Monars, and I'll maybe add the founder of Monars Enterprise. Monars Enterprise is a multi-service industry organization that we have two portfolios mainly, our distribution arm and our consulting arm. Um, I started that organization a few years ago, and in within the realms of Monars, we do leadership coaching, and we offer consulting. In addition to many things, I also serve as the chairman of Sapphire Life Management, which is a nonprofit organization that a part of my blood is embedded in me to serve and give back. So we use the nonprofit Sapphire Life, where we do mentoring, coaching, and online tutoring, and sometimes in-person tutoring, depending on the case. In addition to all of that, I am the president for the Association of DSL, which is the Doctoral and Strategic Leadership Association, Inc. And that is a membership organization that serves graduates, individuals who holds a doctoral degree in whatever field. But don't be deterred, even though it says DSL. We welcome everyone
That's
to be
right.
a part of the organization. Fun fact about me, I love to cook, and I love to cook oxtails. That's my favorite dish. Um, and that's for the dinner, but for the breakfast, it's a Jamaican dish that's called ackee and saltfish. Love to travel, movies, and go shopping. So that's it about me in a nutshell, and we'll get into some more details as we go along. So thank you for that, Dr. Cross.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. And if you are Jamaican and you can cook oxtail, then they take one strike. But it's great to have you here and for the work that have been doing.
Yes.
especially from that philanthropic standpoint, and about giving back, which is really important. When it comes to making a difference or making an impact, because it's one thing to achieve our goal, but the next thing, it's what we do for humanity. That
Yes.
is what matters most, and that's how we, the legacy continues. That's how we help others to realize what is possible. So
Hmm.
it's great to have you here, with the leadership work that you have been doing, with the connections that you have been having with different organizations, and giving back to the community. It's just great work, and it's always great to highlight individuals, especially Black men. At times we are individuals who get overlooked, despite the work that
Yes.
we do and the impact that we are having. So it's just great to have you here. But we're going to kick off the conversation with this question. My first question to you today. And before I even start ask the question, for the listeners who are here, please go ahead and share this conversation with your network. I guarantee you will learn something from this conversation today. And even if you don't, somebody will. And that's how it is. We have to help the people we're connected to be empowered, and that's one way of doing so. So please go ahead and share with your network. Appreciate that. So my first question to you, Dr. Brown, can you share your story and what led you to break away from the traditional path? I know that you even have been a JP and stuff like that, but just to share your story and what led you to pursue your goals and things that you're doing today.
Well, that's a good question, and thank you for that, Dr. Cross. I grew up in a community where I would say survival was the goal and not success because we weren't taught that. For me, it was about stepping out and daring to be different. I recognized early that the traditional path wasn't designed for people who have ambitions.
Right.
So I decided to build my own, create my own lane. And one of the things I must say is that where we are from, where I'm from actually, the community, if you live to past 25 years old, you're considered an elder. And I tell people that, listen, that's a blessing
Yeah.
because of a community that is prone with violent crime and violence, and especially our young men. The statistic is that when you reach a certain age, you must be doing a certain thing, or you must act a certain way. For the females, you must do a certain thing, and you must have this, and you must have that. But that wasn't it for me because I was exposed to different things from an early age, and going to high school made it even more better for me because I was exposed to different things and people, youth conferences, campings, and summer camps and all of that. One of the things that also, I would say, wanted to break away from was the negativity that was around, that I grew up around in such a community that was prone by gun violence. This is something that it was a norm, but then when you step outside the community, you realize that no, this is not the norm.
Correct.
There's something else. There's a different side to this. So I decided that this path wasn't for me. So I need to create my own lane. Just chase my dreams. Get exposed to things that will benefit me.
Okay.
My first tertiary exposure was UCC, where I did my diploma in human resource management, and that brought me out to see a different side. Because one of the things with getting education is that it enables you to think outside the box, be creative, and choose right from wrong to an
Right.
extent, and also to know what is it that you want for yourself.
Well, as you were talking about, the community that you grew up in and the violence that you were exposed to, but you also mentioned that, during high school, you got exposed to different opportunities. Which one of the high schools did you went to?
Oh, my high school was Charlie Smith High School in Arnett Gardens.
Man, and Arnett Gardens,
Yes,
it's one of those
yes.
places that you have heard.
What people call it jungle.
That's right. You heard a lot of violence happening in those areas. So yeah, to make it out and to see something else outside of what you actually see immediately around you, that shows the type of person you are, for one. But is
Yes,
there something that really stood out, and that you grew up in an environment where survival was the thing, not success, or
not
maybe the
success.
success maybe from a different means, but it
Well,
was embedded in you. It's more so about survival, and also that
survival
you talk about, at if you live to see past 25, you're considered an
and
elder.
elder. Yes,
But
yes.
also, I must say, when, and for those who are listening, ambition can help you to break those cycles, because that's what you said. Someone with ambition, help you to start to take advantage of whatever opportunities that
That
you were exposed to.
that is so true because one of the things is that even when in high school, they used to tease me and tell me that I carry the most books to school
Wow.
because I would carry all my books.
Wow.
I carry my books and I carry cook my lunch and take to school. And while others were just doing other things, I was mainly in the books. And as we go back to the gun violence part, there was one particular person I remember him clear as day right now. He was troubling one of my classmates in school, and he terrorized her for the whole day. And
Wow.
he got suspended for that. And I think 2 days, 3 days after he got back to school and he was going home, and he got gunned down
Wow.
right in front of my home, because back in the days we had zinc fence,
Hmm.
and I was we could see through the holes and all of that, and he was laying there, and I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. And I remember going to funerals for a couple of my school friends, and I'm like, I tell one of them, I'm not coming to any more funerals for none of y'all, because we have to be different, we have to change it. So it was about survival. It was about survival for us back then.
Well, man, and to be exposed to that type of challenge, I would say, to really make that conscious decision
Yeah.
to do something different, to focus on education, to take that path when, people, as you mentioned, they were teasing you, making fun of you. And that's how it is for a lot of us, growing up in Jamaica as men or as males.
Yeah.
When it comes to education, especially if you may not have that foundation, and
Yeah.
it's something that you have to take on yourself.
It's true.
It has to be something that you want.
You want,
Yeah,
yes,
because it's not
yes.
easy, because most of your friends, maybe say, man, that's not cool, and you want to fit in. And to break away from that, it takes a bit of courage
Oh,
and
yes.
confidence in oneself. So my next question to you is, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced when stepping outside of societal expectations? Growing up in Arnett Garden, now I want to be, someone who is considered smart, or considered educated, or considered, successful. What are some of the challenges that you experienced then?
Yeah, that's a very good one. You know, it's interesting. And as I remember the first question that you asked, one of the things was being called soft. You're too
Yeah,
soft.
yeah,
Another one was that you're a girl because you carry books, you do this, you do that, you're too
yeah.
soft. And I was even being told, oh, you behave like you're better than me.
Wow.
Um, but when you do something different from the others, they will not understand that, right?
Mhm.
And also I had to unlearn the belief that struggle was noble. The success of being selfish was actually good. So that mental shift was harder than any external barrier for me then.
You know, and that's one of the things that a lot of us have heard as males, growing up in Jamaica. that you're soft. I wasn't the one who carry all the books. My bag was empty. And it's not because I didn't want to, maybe because of my financial situation, the social status that we were in at that time, growing up. But my bag, it was empty. But I've seen a lot of males who they call soft. Are you, why you acting like a girl and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because they were focusing more so on their academics and not
Hmm.
with the idling or mischievous behaviors and stuff like that. You weren't considered like the regular male. And if you're
Yeah.
not strong, you want to fit in,
Yes.
because you want
Yes.
to be amongst your peers. You want to be accepted by the people around you. And when you really look back, though, you see those, and it's the same thing. We tend to practice as adults. We want to fit in. We don't want to be
Hmm.
great. We don't want to stand out. We don't want the world to experience our greatness, because we find it easier to fit in. And
Yeah.
if we haven't changed that paradigm, it can affect us today. But you said something that is really profound, that we grew up in an environment or situation where we think struggle was noble. Man, that
Hmm.
is powerful. That is powerful.
Yeah, because one, when you look at the success, the survival for the survival was the norm. You try to survive, and then when you look at struggling, because as we touch on that, I remember those one of the book, some of those books, they were carried in plastic bag,
Wow.
and as we would say, scandal bag.
That's right.
My book, there was one point when I never had school bag, and I took my books to school in a plastic bag, as you would say, scandal bag, in a
Yeah.
black plastic bag.
Yeah.
So the struggle was real,
Yeah.
and but then as you grow older and as you go through the system, because there were times when there wasn't no food to eat, there
Right.
were times when I remember we had to wait on money to come for to feed the family, and that
Yeah.
never happened. There were times when the good thing about it is that we grew up in a church and we had a church community, that it wasn't all that bad, but the struggle for the average person, especially the average black man in some of those communities, it's about surviving. And in order to be accepted in the norm, in order to be accepted, you have to be either a part of the gang, or you try to fit in. But then when you know you have ambitions and you want to be different, then it's not about fitting in, but it's about charting your own path, because every one of us have that leader within us.
Well, and that's a great way to look at it. Because sometimes, which I've heard, when they see potential in a black male in the community, they sometimes, will channel you to continue on that path. Don't come over here, because we
Yeah.
see you as someone who, can achieve, a particular goal. And sometimes that's what saves some of the young men in the community. Once you stick to it,
Yeah.
and then they start to see that, what, man, this young man is trying to do something different. He's trying to go on a different journey. So that is, a really good way, especially for young men out there who may think they have to fit in,
Yeah.
and they have the potential to do great, but they think they have to fit in. Someone like you, your story, your journey, especially growing up in Arnett Gardens. Arnett Gardens wasn't no easy place.
Technically, it was actually Jonestown. I
Wow.
grew up in Jonestown, but they just call that whole area Anna Garden. But Jonestown was neighboring to Anna Garden, so and Charlie Smith was in Anna Garden, so we had to travel from Jonestown to Anna Garden. But yeah, I actually grew up in Jonestown, where I've seen some stuff, and when you come from, as I said, come from those places, and you have ambitions and dreams and goals, then you know that this wasn't just not for you. This is not for you. But
Oh, yeah, man.
that is how even my program, the nonprofit, we do some of the work. Like every year, we try to give back and we help out through the church. we do stuff to the church because we know that a lot of the folks there, they don't have the support, they don't have the willpower, and even some of the resources that are provided, it is politicized. So we don't want that. I try to help from where I'm sitting.
Man, and that's good. If we're going to make change, that's what we got to do. Sometimes we have to cut out the politics, especially to help those who may not get help because
Yeah.
of their position in life. They may get overlooked because they don't
Hmm.
have someone to speak for them.
For them.
So it's great that you realize that you have to become the voice for the voiceless. I think that is important. So my next question to
So
you
true.
is, yeah, that is great, man. That's great work
Thank
for
you.
the community. My next question to you is, what was there a pivotal moment when you realized you had to forge your own path? What was that experience like?
Thank you for that. When I read that question, I was like, yes, I have the perfect answer for that. And this is a most recent one, and this is how the name Monarchs Enterprise come about. And I'll start with that. I'll just answer to that one. Um, it's been passed over for opportunities, and one of them is we've decided to go with other candidates. We all know that famous one. Excuse
Hmm.
me. And that was the silent message. That was what hit me. And those moments, having been told that repeatedly, those moments allowed me to stop waiting for permission. And having attained a doctoral degree in strategic leadership, I launched into my own enterprise. I ventured off doing nothing but determination, purpose, and focus on the grit that I have, and started my organization, Monhars Enterprise, because one of the things is we've seen society expect black men to do drugs, crime, and violence and music, but
Okay.
then not many of us, they don't expect us to start businesses. They don't expect us to be entrepreneurs, um, ethical and moral entrepreneurs too. Put it that way. Excuse me. So that was the moment for me when I decided to, this is it. I'm going to do my own. And if you don't see the value in me, I see the value in myself.
Correct.
And when you think you have the qualifications and the experience, and especially in today, being in America, it's very challenging and hard for most of us as black men, because we're passed over. And then when we are so qualified and experienced, we don't want, they don't want to give us what we are worth and what we
Correct.
are valued. So this is now where self-ambition and self-determination come into the picture, because you have to say to yourself, no, all right, all these no's, what does it mean for me? Excuse me, what does it mean for me? And it means that I'm going to create my own path. I'm going to start my own lane, and I'm going to show them what they are missing out and what I can do. And I've developed the brand Monars Enterprise. And as I said, we do consulting, and we do distribution, and we're coming out with a new product, which will be hitting up. It's not a new product to the market, but it's a brand, one of our brands that we partner with a bottling company to carry. So
Okay.
you have to see that within yourself and say to yourself, enough is enough. And within those no's, it was like one company. There's one particular company that 13 positions that I've applied for, and not one, not even an interview.
Wow.
So this is where I said to myself, "Ah, you know what, this is definitely not me. This is definitely not me." And so far, Monarchs Enterprise have been around since 2022, and we are looking at our third year this year, and we are doing great things.
And it's great to hear that, because a lot of us at times get passed over for opportunities, not
Yep.
because we are not qualified, but because politics get involved, or um, different things. It's the biases, and
Yeah.
it's not maybe because we are from the Caribbean, or different country, but politics involved in these opportunities, and maybe the opportunities will go to someone else, or maybe they're just posting. But you say something that is really, really important, and that is to take charge of what we want, or don't think we are not worthy because someone else, may pass us over. And as
Yes.
black men, that is, really important. That we realize that if someone says no, it doesn't mean we're not qualified. It doesn't mean we're not able to do the work. It doesn't mean we can't make a tremendous impact. And it's so
Yeah.
funny. Last night I read, this guy, he posted on, I think, LinkedIn, and he said it was the same thing that he went through with all the qualifications, with all the experience he had, working in corporate America, and he kept applying, didn't get the opportunity, and he decided to start his company, his organization. He said for 3 years, no
Yes.
one clapped, no one, he make no money,
Hmm.
um, no one like saw him. He was like they're hidden, and he said after year three, he got a great opportunity,
Yeah.
became a multimillionaire, and the rest is history. So a
History.
lot of
Yep.
times, sometimes those disappointments, force us to step into, um, places that, really transform our life and help to
Yes.
transform others and help us to tap into even more of what we are capable of. But that happens to a lot of us as black men, that we get passed over, for opportunities. And I'm glad that you say it, because sometimes we think it's because we are not good enough. We don't get the opportunities, but sometimes we are more than good enough. We are more than qualified.
And this is where you have to believe in yourself to know that you have what it takes to do what they think that you don't have. Because
Yes,
when they believe, when society, or like in this situation where 13 positions, you have a doctoral degree, you have you've been working with this company for a few years, you let them know who you are and you show them who you are, you've been doing the job, and then not even one interview to say, all right, we're going to give you a shot. But then when positions are created, there's somebody else there. But
correct.
this is now where you have to tell yourself that, um I am better than this. I can do this. I am worthy. And this is where you now build the character and the stamina that you need to go take on the challenge, because everybody know being starting business, going into business, not an easy one. And as you mentioned about that individual, after after 3 years, after 2 years, some people just give up, but
Correct.
it requires determination and grit. So yeah.
Yeah, man. And I think that's what he highlighted in the post. That determination, that grit, and as you stated, believe in yourself.
Yes.
Because when you hear no, and no one is clapping for you, you may start develop, doubt. Sorry.
Yes, and you have to do it. You have to start cheer. You have to be your own cheerleader sometime, because
Correct.
and you've set your own motivator, your own coach. Sometimes, because when the hard road, when it hits you, that's when you say you have to develop that inner strength within you to, you know what? All right, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna do this. I'm better than this. I'm stronger than this. I can do, and as the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. And from a Christian perspective, you have to hold on to some of those words, because that gives you the motivation you need, and to propel you into going further into following your dreams and knowing what you are worth.
Man, that sorry, that is, important and a great, reminder, to rest on your foundation, the spiritual foundation, because sometimes you need that,
Oh
to keep
yes.
going.
Oh yes.
You need that, reminder, especially when you have other people doubting you. You have
Hmm.
to rest on that spiritual component,
Yes.
to forge yourself, to press forward, and to build Well, the process is helping you to build character, which is important. But as you talk about doubt and you talk about the challenges and you talk about belief in oneself, my question to you is, how did you navigate moments of doubt or fear when making unconventional choices?
Mm. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one because I have to keep reminding myself that comfort and growth coexist. But for real, fear was a signal that I would say a nonstop. But to prepare, I made notes. I kept a journal. As I grow older, I realized journaling is a good thing, and as a coach, journaling helps. Um, and the greatest thing is as I build this legacy and build this foundation, it is my why. That why for me, and stay rooted in that why when my path got rocky. And even as we continue to build monarchs, there are rocky moments, but then I have to remember, why am I doing this? So for me, it's about reminding myself that it's not going to be an easy one, but the why. Why am I doing this?
Having a why is important, and that's one thing, especially when I started the journey of, well, focus more so on personal development. That
Mhm.
was one of the things, like, almost every successful person have stated, having that why, because the journey gets tough. you know People gonna doubt you, and even you gonna start doubting yourself.
No, you said, listen, Dr. Cross, I can tell you that. That is so real. That is so real. But I want to say this before I say something else. It is the fact that I must say I'm the first person in my family to earn a doctoral degree.
Man,
I'm the first. And a few of my family members were so excited they came to the graduation last year. But there are times even with building and navigating and strategizing through Monarch's plans, and there are daunting moments. And then I have to, the why come back to me, and I say to myself, you know what? No one in my family, we're not rich. I wasn't born with a gold spoon in my mouth. I wasn't born in a rich family. So this is now where my why come into the picture, and I have to just stay focused to that because I have a nephew, which I told him, God forbid that I should pass, no, but I want to leave a legacy. What
correct.
legacy? Because the Bible again tells us we have to leave an inheritance for our children and our children, children, and our children, children, children. So,
Correct.
what is it that we're actually living for?
Correct.
And to be honest, as leaders, we don't live for ourselves. As entrepreneurs, we don't live for ourselves. As a philanthropist, we don't live for ourselves. We live for others, and this is where we leave that lasting impact on the legacy that we want to leave behind.
Man, that is important. To have that why, give you that extra push to keep pressing forward. And as you talk about the legacy, what is it they will say about me? And also, I must say congratulations on being the first in your family to have
Well, thank you, thank
obtained
you.
the doctorate degree, because that's a journey in itself. That in itself is defined, for us, most of us, that conventional expectations,
Yes,
because a
yes.
lot of us weren't seen as someone who was supposed to or who would be capable of obtaining, such a degree.
You
And
you know, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, man,
what
that's
is
fine.
interesting about that part, Dr. Cross, is I worked at a company where I was told to complete the tuition reimbursement form.
Wow.
And when I looked at it, there was nothing, the section, it didn't say anything about doctoral program. It just says MBA or other masters.
Wow.
And I was told to do it, to complete the form 3 times. I did it on the third attempt, and I'm like, I'm going to put other and just explain all of that.
Hmm.
The form was submitted to the HR person. And you know what was interesting? And I kept that email. The HR person responded and asked, is this a true doctorate degree?
Hmm.
And not only that, when I graduated and I got the documentation, the evidence to prove the same people I sent that degree to, and to date, I have not heard congratulations, well done, or what's going to happen. Not even an acknowledgement from an HR standpoint, which led me to be writing articles, to be talking about these things and understanding HR from a different standpoint, because there's HR, human resource management, and human resource development. And a lot of our organizations and our HR practitioners fail to realize that their job as HRD, it involves developing people and working with
Right.
people. And we wrote I think I have a paper on HR humanizing HR again, because we tend to realize that it's about people. And I'll just add this and just close. There's a saying that says people are our greatest asset.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I shy away from that a bit. You know why? Asset is something that we own. Won't you agree with me?
I said yes.
Right. So when you say people are your greatest asset for an organization, I kind of have a problem with that, because you don't own anyone. We don't own people. And
That's a
if
great
if
perspective.
if we should tweak that, my thing would say, I would put it this way: people are our greatest element, because within that circle of organization, without people, there is no asset. You can't call people asset because they're not an asset. Your machines, your bill, your desk, your chairs, your computers, those are your asset. So your people are your greatest element, because element is something that you bring together, you put pieces together. And if when you put it that way, it allows people to now look at themselves, your employees, to consider themselves as, oh, I'm a part of. They consider me as someone worthy or capable. So that's where I have a problem with that part. But that's another for another story. But yes, that is to show you people, there are people who will still not say, and some of my colleagues, that someone will say, oh, you don't have a PhD, you don't have this, or you don't have that. But guess what happened? We've earned our qualification. I've earned that doctorate, and I know the work that I put into it. And out of that program, Monars is a part, is a fruit of that labor. So because that helped me to prepare myself for that. So yeah, the self-determination and self-belief is something that I go for every day, because I have to, that is my why, and I know why I'm doing this.
Well, as you talk about, not being acknowledged for your accomplishment, and to work for an organization and not being acknowledged for such an accomplishment, that speak negatively of the organization. Despite how you want to look at the qualification, being that it may not be PhD, but it's still terminal degree.
Yes,
But that doesn't or shouldn't take away from acknowledging. That's more so an organization dysfunction, I should say.
yes.
And sometimes that affects individuals who work in those spaces, start to doubt who they are, or their worth. You
And,
know,
and and there are moments when that happen, there are moments when that happen. But then when I know that I'm working on my why, that's when I said to myself, there's nothing going to deter me. And I'll maybe add to that too. Recently, they circulated a senior person in the organization that earned a doctoral degree, not a PhD, but a doctoral degree. And they circulated that and celebrated this person. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. But I understand because of the type of person that person is, but it's stuff like that that motivates me to do what I do best, believe in myself, and to know, stick to my why. Stick to my why.
yeah, the man, that is important because on a journey you're going to be tested. We all
Oh
going to
yeah.
be tested, and it doesn't matter what part of the journey we are. It could be in the beginning, it could be in the
Mm-hmm.
middle, and further down the journey,
Yes.
we're still going to be tested. We have to go back to the reason why we start in the first place.
First place.
But and also you mentioned something that is really important, and I just want to mention it here. Um, when it comes to building a business, starting an organization, that ethical and moral piece is important. That's a critical part of the foundation, because you don't want to get to where you want to be and you don't have that. Then you accomplish all this and then you
Yeah.
lose it all just because the immoral and unethical practices. I just want to say that, because we're all trying to make a difference, but we want to make sure we're doing it the right way, to make the difference
True.
that we want to make. It's not just about achieving the goal, but how we go about achieving it is
Yes.
important. My next question to you is, and based on dealing with some of those challenges within the organization, not being acknowledged for accomplishments and stuff like that, how did you handle criticism or skepticism from others, especially from within your own community?
And I'll just give you this simple one. I listen with love,
Okay.
but I move with purpose because I know my why. Again, I had to understand that sometimes people criticize what they don't understand. Remember that. Once they saw what I was doing, because I remember some people say, "Oh, I never know you could get it from the computer." This was when I was doing all those studies and everything. But some of these same people became my biggest supporters when they understand why. And as we say in Jamaica, when the shoe is on your foot, then you'll understand.
Well, you said something that I think I missed, but which I want you to repeat. When they don't understand the why, what you said happened?
When they don't understand the why, that's when it helps you know to prove to them your purpose and why you're doing this. And then they will now see you and understand and become your one of your greatest one. Well, they have become my greatest supporter, put it that way.
That is true, because people tend to kind of oppose what they don't understand at first. They, especially if it challenge their norm, I should
Yes.
say. If it challenges their norm, they will oppose to it. And as individuals, on our journey, we have to understand human behaviors. So it's not always about us as individual, especially when you're doing something that's different, challenging the
Hmm.
norm. People tend to, shy away from something that they are not accustomed to. So
Yes.
again, it's not about us; it's about humans and their way of living when it comes to pursuing goals, challenges, and stuff like that, are overcoming um, different things on the journey. Because not
Hmm.
everyone wants to change, if I should say. Not everyone wants to change, and if you're doing something that will require them to change, you may get some pushback or some resistance.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, oh yeah. So my next question to you: can you share a specific moment when breaking the rules led to breakthrough for you?
um I would say going back to Monars again, starting Monars. It's when I decided that I'm hearing too much of the no's. I'm tired of this, and I'll just leave it at that one. Um, when I was told, oh, you can apply for the inventory manager position, but then I said, after having 12 applications in, why would this one be different? And I know there is a God, but why would this one be? And that inventory application sat for months. And I'm like, well, you know what? I think I should just continue with Monars. Um, while you sit and you wait, don't wait in vain. Be proactive and have again having a strategic leadership degree allowed me to create my own breakthrough. And this is where I showed people that, all right, I have the crazy faith. I don't have the support. I don't have the millions of dollars to do it, but this is now when I told myself that I'm going to give up some personal sacrifices to build a legacy and creating monarchs and being creative, being innovative, being strategic. And that is the moment that affirmed everything in me to say, you know what, this is what you need to do.
Well, um, and that takes courage, as you say, crazy faith. But you said something that is really important. Be proactive whilst we wait. Don't just wait in vain,
Yes.
because if you wait and do nothing, it's like you're waiting in vain. You're not trying to position yourself or create the opportunity, as you
Hmm.
mentioned. Because again, people may not see or believe in you just because they choose not to.
Yeah.
And sometimes, especially for us as man, we need to understand it's not that they don't see the impact that we can make. They do see the impact that we can make, and
Hmm.
they are afraid of that or threatened by
Yes.
it. So
Yes.
we have to, put things in context. Once we start getting these pushbacks,
Oh,
that
yes.
it's not about me per se, and sometimes it's about the person that
Hmm.
have to deal with. They say, "Man, I'm not going to allow this greatness to come in here to outshine me." But once you understand that, that's where it becomes easier to be proactive. It becomes easier to create opportunities for yourself, and
True.
and sometimes we are limiting ourselves, to be honest.
Hmm.
Sometimes we are settling, because this is conventional, this is the norm, so we
Yes.
settle, and not knowing that these pushbacks that we're getting, these resistance that we're getting, is really pushing us into purpose.
Purpose.
And
Yes.
not until we start to put things in context and realize that, wait, this is not about me. It's not that I'm not qualified, but is there something greater for me to do? And the rejection, they said, it's always redirection.
Oh, yes.
So that rejection is redirecting us to something greater. See, now you started Monhars enterprise, making great impact, um, and that's what sometimes it takes. So being proactive, or be proactive, is important, especially when we have things that we want to do, or we have goals that we want to achieve. But those resistance or challenges, help to provide that breakthrough for
So
you.
true.
So yeah, my next question to you, though, as we talk about redefining success and impact, how do you define success? And how has that definition changed over time?
Success for many would mean an income, having money and wealth. It means for me, it means an impact and an impact of legacy. It's about how many lives I can touch and how many doors I can open for others and how deeply I can live in alignment with my purpose. Leaving a legacy for me is not only to have a name remembered, but also to influence a generation to come. And I often say to people, if I should die, do not come to my funeral and say I cooked the best oxtails. But I want to be remembered that the cooking those oxtails helped to feed some hungry souls at times.
That's right. That's right.
So for me, it's about the impact and a legacy of impact.
Yeah. Well, and that's as you mentioned, for some people, success is the money. the money they have, and no fulfillment at times, because the impact is what gives you that fulfillment.
Yes.
um, and I think that is important. It's not just the things you do, but what you help happen for others, as you have mentioned. But I just want to acknowledge Miss Works for sharing a comment earlier. um, I think I missed the point that you have made, that she have shared a comment. So it's never for me. I don't remember what you have said, but maybe um, applying several times. I think when you were talking that you were going to apply the 13th time, being declined an opportunity for so
Hmm.
many times. Some people would, give up, and maybe it would be the best thing, which you kind of realize later, that you stepped away because they just taking advantage or disadvantage.
And I'll maybe say this for me, some of the stuff that helped to motivate me to is when you look at WD-40. I don't know how many people know how WD-40 was, how it came about, but WD-40, it was on their 40th attempt
Wow.
that it became successful, and that is how they come about the name WD-40.
Hmm.
7-Up was the same thing. And when you look at some of the affluent people in society or who have passed on, um, they have never achieved success until they're up in their late ages. There was a painting, or I think it was a dress. The was it the dressmaker or the painting? I think the artist or the individual. It was when she was 80, in her 80s, that she became successful.
Wow.
So it's never, don't ever give up on you. And even when I was doing those applications, it wasn't about the company, it was about me. So for me, it's about, okay, I'm determined to get better for me. And that better might not be there with that company. It might means that somebody like me who have ambitions and aspirations and dreams to go um and to go into my own, to do my own. So that is one of the things that, you know what, okay, they say no, I'm going to continue. And if it means that I should just do my own.
Well, 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 that well said. But I will go back to the WD-40 and 7-Up. Um, a lot of times, man, and we all know about the 10,000, what 10,000, the 1,000 attempt with Thomas Edison with the light bulb and stuff like that. A lot of people quit before, but I didn't know that's how WD-40 got its name. At their 40th attempt, they became successful on creating that product. And man, that's just an inspiration in itself. Just to know that they could have quit on the 38th time. Man, this thing is not going to work, or the 39th time. It's not going to work.
And,
And but let's
and I
let's
think
go ahead.
for 7-Up, I'm sorry, for 7-Up, I think on the seventh attempt, I think that a thumbs up was given for the seventh attempt, and then that's when they say, "Yup, 7-Up."
That's right, man. That's inspirational. But just to highlight what Ms. Works
That's what it
was
said.
saying, she was saying um, it was breaking the rules. It can lead to retaliation. Um,
And I say maybe it depends on the context that you're breaking the rules, but breaking the rules for me was about breaking out of what was the norm. I wanted to just step away from that, and that's not for me. And if retaliation comes, then you'll have to deal with it, but it depends on the context. But for me, it was about stepping away from the norm. I wanted to be different. I wanted, okay, I've done this for several years, several months. I've been trying to get to move up, to grow with an organization, but every time you apply, it doesn't work. So when you hear the no's and you face those disappointments and all of that, it was about finding the inner strength and to just do you and do what's best for you, because it also helps when you can be strong for you. It enhances your mental health.
I think that is true. When you can be strong for you, it enhances your mental health. That's important because you need mental strength to persevere. You need that grit to persevere. You need that inner drive to persevere. But just to as that breaking the rules can lead to retaliation. I think when you're trying to do something different within the organization, when you challenging the current status quo or the work organization culture, you're going to find a lot more people that are in alignment with what's currently happening in the organization. And who are you to come and want to change that?
Yes,
Sometimes
yes,
people do think like that, and because they have more people who are accepting the norm, those are the people who will join forces, not
forces.
realizing that the change in itself will be better for them. But a lot of people become so comfortable and complacent
Consent.
in
Hmm.
organizations, and don't see your vision or the impact or your contribution and how that contribution can be beneficial to them. And that's where I'm thinking Miss Works talking about with the retaliation, because you're going to find some people who don't want to take your ideas, even though your idea is good, even though your contribution will be great.
And I'll just add this, and I must say thank you, Miss Works, for your contribution to this segment. One other thing I must add is, and I often tell people, if you have ambitions, if you have goals, and if you believe that you are destined for greatness, I always say just play in their world, do what you have to do, because at the end of the day, you know what you're about and you don't plan to stay there forever. So you know what you're about, focus on your why. Focus on your why. Know that you are here for a purpose.
Man, and that's a great reminder, because we're not going to be able to control every space that we're in. And
Yes.
there's one thing that I keep forgetting, but it's important. Growing up in Jamaica, they always said, sometimes you just got to take the milk. You're not there for to count the cows.
The coach.
But I tend to forget that sometimes. Because I'm type of person. I when I believe in something, I kind of stick to it, and sometimes I forget to take the milk and not counting cows. But it does come back to mind at times, maybe after I really stepped maybe over the boundaries, but I tend to step over the boundaries sometimes, not in a disrespectful way, but when I believe in something, I do believe in it. And
Yeah.
especially when it comes to being of service to others. Once I'm entrusted to be of service, I tend to want to make sure I'm being of service, especially to students or especially to those who may be considered underserved. I'm not going to be of disservice to um, those who I'm entrusted to serve. But we're at the top of the hour. But before we go, before my final question, could you please share with the listeners here where they can connect with you and support the work that you're doing?
That's a good one. Thank you for that, Dr. Cross. So if you need to connect with me, my email address is Aidin, first name Aidin dot Brown, Brown, at monhars.us. And Monars Enterprise, we're on all most social media platform. So you can follow us. We're here on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and the website www.monars.us.
Okay. Well, thank you, and hopefully they. I will put it in the description so they can connect with you
Okay,
later.
thank you.
And because I also know that you with leadership consulting, which is really important today. So hopefully, have some people reaching out to you because we need to work on our leadership because that's important.
That part. Yes.
Yeah, that.
Actually, I have another book coming out soon. It's in the final stage of presentation, publication, put it that way. And the title itself, because a lot of people feel like because they hold a position, and I often say this, not because you're a leader, not because you hold a leadership position, manager, supervisor, director, vice president, I don't care. You are not a leader until you demonstrate those leadership characteristics and traits. And my book that I had before, the last book that I wrote, Let Your Leadership Speak, they people believe that, okay, I have arrived at, I am now a manager or supervisor, so I'm a leader. But that's not what makes you a leader. And the next book coming out, it's going to be talking about leadership. Yeah, but beneath that, there's a lot more than just a title.
Well, that's important. Now you said something really important to demonstrate the qualities, because it's one thing to tell someone to be and do, but that be and do becomes stronger when you exemplify,
Yes.
the being and the doing of leadership. I think that is important. A leader should embody the qualities. There should not be guess or
Hmm.
guessing if you are a leader. You should walk that talk
Yes.
daily. It doesn't matter your position or it doesn't matter your environment. It doesn't matter where you are. And that's what one of my mentors said to me, Richard, man, wherever you are, remember you're always representing yourself. So always show up as the person you want to be or be
Yes.
seen as. So, Dr. Brown, any last words that you want to share with the listeners before we close today?
And I'll say I'll put it this way: tell your story. Tell your story. Invest in each other. Invest in yourself, and model new definitions of, and especially for our black men, of masculinity and success. For me, representation is not enough. We need infrastructure and access to more community development. So I'm encouraging our black brothers, our society leaders, our community leaders to be different, dare to be different, and leave a legacy of impact, and a legacy where it's not about you, but the lives that we change, we transform, and we transform, and the lives that we impact deeply, because transforming and transferring, once we can transfer what we have in us to others, then it brings that transformation.
Man, that is true. That is true. And thanks for that reminder. Transfer what we have within us to others. That's how we create the transformation. And for the listeners, again, I want to thank you all for being here with us. And please continue to support us as we, keep on this journey of bringing in guests that we believe will share insights and perspective that can make a difference. Thanks again for being here at the Black Male Impact, where positive changes are inspired. Keep giving us your support. It is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cross, for having me. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.